welcome to the show. Very, very happy to get you on this time.
Thanks for having me.
Real pleasure, and I'm excited to talk to you because a lot of the companies that come on here are very, very early stage. Not all of them, but yours obviously a bit more established, and you've been on a longer journey. So I think you'll add some different content to our viewers.
Sure.
So why don't we start by telling us about LegalVision, what you do, and your story as to how it came about and where you are now as a business.
Sure. So LegalVision's a tech-enabled legal services business. So we're a law firm, but we run the business very differently to a traditional law firm. So our kind of lead structure is all digital, online driven. We have a very different organisational structure to a traditional law firm. Yep. And the way we deliver services to clients is also very different. So a big focus on the client experience, on very quick turnaround times, on fixed fee or subscription pricing. Mm-hmm. And that's really kind of, what we've built over the years. So we started off about 7 years ago now. Yep. And initially we were actually not planning on being a law firm. We were planning on just selling some online legal documents.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's how we started out. And the business sort of evolved over a number of years through different iterations to what it is today, which has been an interesting journey. And it's for me, it's obviously very different now from when we started out. Yeah.
And look, I think we talk a lot about that in the startup world. I'm not going to use the P word, but the iterations and businesses changing. Were there reasons for that, or did it evolve slowly, or were there sort of, not that COVID is not one because it's more recent, but have there been other events that have sort of shocked the business into change, or has it been a more genuine evolution? Yeah,
for us, not so much shock. I think the way we've built the business has really been around customer feedback, A, and secondly, B is really, somewhat down to the size of the Australian market. So a good example there is we started off thinking we could sell a whole heap of online legal documents for $50 a pop. Yep. That was back in 2012. We thought, hey, in the US, this model's working well. In the UK, this model's working well. Why don't we replicate that in Australia? Yep. Now, the issue was we could sell a chunk of documents, but it was never going to be a meaningful business because the market just isn't big enough.
Population, you mean?
Sure, population, number of businesses, and so on and so forth. And so the evolution there was, okay, we had customers getting in touch saying, look, I don't really want your downloaded document. I'd like a lawyer to draft the document for me, and so on and so forth. And it's from there that we started a small legal marketplace to start with, which, the idea there was we're acquiring the customers and then someone else is servicing them. And over a period of about a year of doing that, we realised that the way the lawyers were servicing the clients wasn't, in our view, the best way of servicing them. And so we decided, why don't we just set up our own incorporated legal practice and do the actual delivery of the legal services in the way that we think will best suit those clients.
Is that easy? Essentially you're a tech document business going into a law firm. Is that an easy thing to do? I don't know. Is it easy to set up a law firm?
It's actually quite easy to set up a law firm in Australia. All you need to do is incorporate a company and have one director who has an unrestricted practicing certificate. So it's actually relatively easy. There's a lot of people who set up law firms. The hard thing is setting up a law firm, a legal services business that's doing things differently,
yes.
And that is a scalable business. And that's, a lot of people who set up law firms end up as a sole practitioner or a sort of little micro business, which is no bad thing, but it's not a scalable business that's going to transform the way legal services is delivered.
Yep. And did you have a legal background before?
Yeah, so I was a corporate lawyer. Did an MBA, worked as an investment banker for a while, and then started the business post that. Yeah.
Geez, that's a heck of a ride of long hours you've been doing. So that would have probably helped.
It was all a long time ago, so I've kind of forgotten about it.
And why did this? You obviously you had a very corporate career. What made you start LegalVision? What was the sort of thinking behind that?
Yeah, the thinking was I wanted to run my own business, and I wasn't actually particularly focused on starting something in legal services. I kind of actually sat down one day back in, would have been 2012, early 2012, maybe 2011, and wrote out a list of all the businesses I thought I might start, and kind of decided on this one. It wasn't anything more than that. And I think that's, to an extent enabled me to be pretty open to new ways of doing things, new ideas and so on and so forth, because I didn't have a set, I want to start a law firm and run it this way in my mind before doing it. But yeah.
So how would you, you said it's changed and iterated. How would you describe it now? How would you describe LegalVision now as exactly what you do in its current iteration?
Yeah. So we're a tech-enabled law firm, effectively. So what that means is, at the end of the day, we're delivering legal services, and we have lawyers who are delivering those legal services to a range of clients, but mainly in the startup, small, medium business segment.
Not B2C, it's B2C.
It's all B2B,
right.
All B2B, yeah. We don't service any consumers, so we're only focused on businesses. The way in which we deliver those services is with the client experience at the forefront of what we're doing. And so a traditional law firm is really focused, ultimately on the way the lawyers do the work, and that's how the work is delivered.
Yep.
What we've done is really re-engineer that and go, okay, what is the best possible client experience? What are the things that clients want? Let's build them into our system. So we have a very structured way in which we do the work that enables us to have a very consistent service.
And scalable, obviously.
And it's very scalable. And so that's on the kind of delivery side of things. And then on the, I guess, the more business side of things, we're number one online in Australia by a long way. So we have the most visited legal service website in Australia. We have thousands and thousands and thousands of articles on the website. And so we attract a large number of new client inquiries every day through our website. And from there, so it's a digital-first marketing model. And from there, we have a growth team and effectively a client care inbound sales team that deal with all those inquiries, talk to the clients, work out what they need, hopefully convert them to be clients. And then we have a very structured way in which they flow through into the legal team and the legal services delivered. What you end up with is, it's a mixture of very high quality, because we have a very standardized way in which we're delivering the service, with a great client experience, because, we hold everyone in the team to account on the client experience first and foremost.
Yeah.
And then lastly, because we've managed to scale now to a level where we're a relatively large business in the legal services space, we can deliver a very cost-effective price point. And it's that combination of those three things that really make the difference.
Yeah.
And to an extent, what you end up with once you kind of get to scale is those three: acquisition, servicing, and cost. Those three elements are a self-perpetuating cycle. The bigger you get, the more you can reinvest in system, process, technology, in training, and from there you can obviously continue to deliver a better and better service. Your turnaround times get quicker and quicker and
like
quicker.
Compounding interest.
Exactly, yeah. So it's, I guess, if you look at a traditional law firm, the way the business is run is the same as it was run 20 years ago. The way our business is run is different to a year ago. It's a constantly evolving, business and business model. And at the heart of it is, how do we deliver the best possible client experience to our clients?
Okay, and 7 years in, it's quite a bit of time.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is the hardest thing throughout that journey that you did? Whether it was right at the beginning, or whether it was when you realised that wasn't going to make you the money, or whether it's something recent, what do you think's been the hardest thing to overcome?
Yeah, I think it's obviously different for different types of businesses, but for our business, and particularly in this space that we're in, I think it's very hard to build a sort of an overnight success. 2-3 years.
7 years is overnight success.
I don't know about that. And so really the hardest thing is to keep going. In the early years, when you're not paying yourself, it's the revenue increases are very incremental. It's very hard to see, okay, how are we going to get from where we are now to where we want to be.
Yep.
In fact, you might not even know where you want to get to. And so the biggest kind of learning for me, and maybe the hardest thing in terms of running running the business has been that, you just have to keep going. You just got to keep going day in, day out, day in, day out. And you can't make a big difference day to day, but over the course of a year, you can make a significant difference. And so it's that kind of, and to an extent, the kind of mental kind of, fortitude, or just the kind of, mindset of I'm not going to give up. And secondly, you're going to keep pushing, because you get to a stage, and certainly, even 2, 3, 4 years ago, we were at a stage where we could have gone, we're happy with this. Let's kind of move to profitability and generate some dividends and so on and so forth. And so you have to have that ambition to continue building the best possible business, and ultimately the biggest possible business, really, if that's what you're kind of going for, and not be willing to kind of settle, for anything less than that. And
you're sole founder, right?
No, so 2 of us. I started the business with Evan, who's a CTO and does the kind of tech side of the business. So we, for the first year or so, it was just the 2 of us. Yep. From there we kind of started growing a team and so on and so forth. But for the first year it was just the 2 of us. He did the kind of tech side of things. I did sales. We weren't doing legal work back then. We'd when we get a call, he'd kind of answer it and pass it on to me, so we sounded bigger than we were.
The old tricks are still the best.
100%.
Cool. And I guess, is there anything that you feel that you've learnt through, you talked about the fact that you're not making a difference day to day and you've got to keep going. What do you think was the biggest thing you learnt, maybe about yourself? You said you always wanted to start a business. It's interesting. We've spoken to some people from Antler earlier today who are trying to decode what the DNA of a founder is. And you always wanted to be a founder, and you've succeeded, so you obviously are that DNA. Do you think you've learned anything about yourself on that journey that perhaps you didn't know?
It's interesting. I mean, it's not that I wanted to be a founder, so I didn't want to work for someone else. That was more why. Okay. And that's when you kind of think about that, look, we act for hundreds of startups, right? So we speak to founders all the time. We probably do more. In fact, we do more, seed, Series A, Series B capital raises than any law firm.
Very similar to our audience as well, and our customers. It's very similar.
Yeah, 100%. So if you look at all those, there's a wide variety of different kind of reasons why people start a business. Some are very, very mission driven. Some are kind of, frankly, there's a few founders that I know have been very successful, probably couldn't get a job somewhere else because they're kind of difficult people. So when I look at myself amongst that, I mean, look, frankly, I don't know that I've actually changed that much through this journey, and possibly, I should really change more. But to an extent, I've kind of gotten to the stage where look, I think it's kind of hard to change the way you do things when you get to a certain
kind of. I think it is. There's no question.
Yeah.
And particularly if it's working.
Well, to an extent.
So let's go to beliefs, and I think this is always one of I get the most interesting answers to this question. So a belief is something that you just believe, right? You don't necessarily think about it, you just believe it. Have there been any beliefs that you've had that have changed either through COVID or either through running this business or through having children or something? But is there a period in your life where you had a particular belief about something that you no longer believe? I'm always interested by this question because it's a really core thing about someone. I
mean, an interesting one, when I think back to the things I've been most wrong about.
Yep.
I remember, so I started my career as a corporate lawyer. And I'd been doing that for a few years before doing my MBA at a place called INSEAD in Singapore and France. And one of the first courses that you do doing your MBA is leading people in groups, like a sort of leadership type course. And my kind of attitude to leading people back then, having never really led anyone, because I was a lawyer and you don't really have a team.
Junior lawyer too. You don't need anyone,
exactly.
Not even a coffee man.
Was that you just tell someone to do it and they do it, and
Genius.
and that all this kind of, psychology around leadership and so on and so forth was frankly, a kind of a waste of time, and I had this idea going into an MBA, which I held throughout the MBA, is like, okay, the finance courses are the ones that matter, because, ultimately that's what's going to kind of get me my next job and so on and so forth, right? And only when starting LegalVision and running it for probably a couple of years and the team growing and so on and so forth, did it finally click to me that the leading people and groups course and the courses around that, around kind of leadership and the psychology of leadership, were the most important things that that I probably learnt doing that MBA. And I regret not probably spending more time actually, focused on those particular subjects, because, ultimately, particularly when you get to the sort of size business we are, it's not a massive business. We've got 110, 120 team members now. The most important thing is the kind of leadership / management side of things. That once you get to that sort of size, it's absolutely critical and the most important thing.
Absolutely. And look, I think most people think about that with school. We all look back going, gosh, or parents. You know what the most annoying thing that I've discovered about becoming a parent is that my parents were right nearly all the time. And I never believed them. And now, frustratingly, my children are doing the same thing to me.
Yeah, interesting.
It's a human being trait, I think. But I think it's great that you realise that. And at least you went through the course, so you weren't going into it completely blind. You might not have studied as much as you could, but at least you had a pretty good basis.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's a good thing. All right, talk to me about... and this is a favourite question of everyone that watches the show, because there's just so much information overload out there. Are there any books that you're reading or that had an impact on you when you were building this business? Or is there any podcast that you're particularly enjoying or that, again, had some sort of impact on you during your journey? Bearing in mind, most of our audience they're either founders or thinking about becoming founders.
So, look, right now, I find... frankly, as I've gotten older, my attention span has gotten shorter and shorter and shorter.
That's a global thing.
So I can't even really watch something for half an hour now, frankly. So what I read a lot of is news. So sort of AFR, Wall Street Journal, Financial Times, that sort of thing. Because at least in the space that we're in, you can always pick up a lot from what's happening overseas. So I find that super useful. And then this is more over the kind of last year and a half, where we've moved more and more towards a subscription membership model. So, and that's kind of been core to what we've been doing over the last year and a half, and there's been another transformation of the business. But a lot of the reading that I've been doing has been around SaaS businesses. So, and there are so many blogs. A lot of the kind of SaaS platforms have fantastic blogs around, calculating churn, what are the metrics you need to be looking at, so on and so forth. And that's what I find more useful than whole books, because I find, frankly, I
can't digest it all.
Yeah.
SaaS, I think, is the only word used more than pivot. In the world at the moment. Maybe COVID's probably number one right now. But,
yeah.
That's interesting. So you just said you're moving to a SaaS model. So how does that work? Do you get like X amount of documents or X amount of free hours, or how are you structuring that? I'm guessing you're having different tiers.
Yeah. So right now we have just one tier. It's our kind of core tier, which is called LV Connect. It's $200 a month.
I had a look at this.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Go on. Carry on. Sorry.
And for that $200 a month, you're basically an LV Connect member. You get access to our lawyers, so you can book in for a call with a lawyer about any legal issue, and it's unlimited, so you can have as many calls as you want. You get significant discounts on our fixed fee prices. So we have 5 fixed fee prices. We do nearly all of our work for those 5 fixed fee prices, and you get significant discounts if you're a member. You also get what we call a disputes guarantee. So effectively, if you're a member and we've drafted a legal document for you, you get into a dispute over that legal document, we'll represent you, in a dispute.
That's pretty awesome.
For no additional cost.
For no additional cost?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's where,
Well, ultimately it's backing the work that we do, right?
Yeah.
So from we've got thousands of members now. So, the reality is, yes, in certain circumstances you will get into a dispute, but they're very, very rare. And so it's similar to an insurance product in that sense, that in those rare circumstances where you do get into a dispute, we back ourselves to kind of solve it relatively quickly and cost effectively. But ultimately, what we're really backing is the quality of the work that we do, because we know that the documents we're drafting are, watertight, which then means, there's really little opportunity for dispute. If you look at most legal disputes, in the kind of corporate commercial space, or at least the SME corporate commercial space, they're over very poorly drafted documents or agreements, verbal agreements where there was no actual written contract at all.
I've been there myself a couple of times in the past. And has COVID affected you guys? Have you found there's been an uptake in your service? Has there been more of a desire for what you do?
So we found, as I think most businesses did, in that kind of March, April period, there was a big dip in top line revenue for us. And I think it was a mixture of, frankly, everyone being a bit kind of freaked out and spending their time watching, Scott Morrison doing his daily, update and not necessarily working. But also there was a significant dip in online inquiry. So, people were kind of going, I'm not going to spend on legal services right now. But very quickly from April, there was an initial, big bump which came from, I guess, the legal issues coming out of COVID, the employment issues, the JobKeeper issues, the leasing issues that a lot of businesses were having. And then from there, and I think we noticed this, probably around the kind of June, it was like economically, I think things actually were pretty good. Probably, obviously, bumped up by all the stimulus, the JobKeeper, all that sort of thing. But, we found that digital inquiries are up, year on year. And because we have always been a digital-first firm, it was very easy for us to run the business with everyone working remotely and so on and so forth. Like, we didn't have a downturn in our conversion rates or anything like that. And so ultimately, this new environment, I guess the COVID environment, has been one in which, a business like ours has done well.
That's great. That's good.
Yeah, it's worked out relatively well. Now, look, be interesting to see what happens next year when JobKeeper comes off and so on and so forth.
I'm looking forward to March. I'm intrigued to know what the real world looks like.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Now, I'm assuming you've got future plans to continue to grow the business. Isn't that right?
100%, yeah.
So, with that in mind, if someone wants to come and work for you as LegalVision, as an employee or as a lawyer, or if someone out there is running a business and a startup and wants to use your services, we've sort of covered that one. What is it like to work at LegalVision, and why would someone want to join a law firm like yours?
Yeah, so this is actually the interesting thing about the thing that's affected us most with COVID has been this whole no one's working in the office thing now. So to explain what it's like working at LegalVision now, I'd say it's interesting because most of the team is coming in once a week, which is very strange in some ways. And whether that's the new normal or not will obviously determine what working with us is like. But, if you're a lawyer and you're used to working in a traditional law firm, it's a very different type of business. So there's much less hierarchy around, who does what. There's much more opportunity to kind of grow into a role very quickly. You'll deal with a really wide range of clients. So as a lawyer in a traditional firm, you might deal with a smaller number of a certain type of clients. At LegalVision, you'll deal with a wide range of clients. And so the way we work is an intense working environment during kind of normal working hours. Whereas a traditional law firm, you'll spend a lot of time at work, not necessarily working that hard, until there's a big deal, and then on that big deal, you're working
crazy hours.
Yeah. So that's sort of the environment. We're a very diverse group, and frankly, it's a younger team than a traditional law firm, and that's probably just because those type of people have been attracted to a different type of business. If you're very senior in a traditional law firm, you're probably making quite a lot of money. It doesn't make sense to necessarily leave. And so then we have a graduate program. In our graduate program, you start off in our growth team as opposed to our legal team, and that's because we really believe that traditional firms do lawyers a disservice by hiding the lawyers away from clients until they're sort of 4 or 5 years PQE.
Yep.
I don't even know how to talk to a client. Whereas at LegalVision, you start off, you're talking to clients from day one, or prospective clients from day one. So you build up a great skill set around, empathizing with potential clients, understanding their needs, quickly working out what they need, and then obviously trying to convert them into a client. That's a skill set that I think sets you up really for success in whatever kind of career you choose down the track. And so they're the kind of 2 main roles we're always hiring for, lawyers and into our growth team, which is more of a graduate style role.
Okay. And lastly, if I'm a startup owner or an SME, again, which is another huge portion of our audience, why would we want to, other than the fixed fee, why else would we come and want to use your services? Yeah,
so it's really a combination of, it's interesting because we NPS survey every single client. So we get a huge number of responses.
Yes.
Our NPS sits at around 70, so super high NPS.
Super high.
Yeah, legal services average is 13. So we're
really 13.
Yeah, not surprising.
The average was about 30 in business.
No, 13 for law firms. Yeah.
Goodness.
And can be an unpleasant experience working with a lawyer. And so we survey everyone. We obviously get the NPS. That sort of speaks for itself. But we get the verbatims, and that's what's really interesting. What are people saying alongside the number? And there are really 3 key points the clients make time and time again. The first is empathy. So the clients note this a lot. They have an experience with LegalVision where they feel that the lawyer cares about their business ultimately, really cares about their business, and they're not just a number. They're an important client and dealt with as such.
Yep.
That's number 1. The second is responsiveness and turnaround time. So we get, in terms of verbatims, we get so many clients saying, I was amazed at how quickly you turned around the work. So often we'll turn around work in 48 hours, but our standard is 5 business days for even a complex piece of work. And if anyone's ever dealt with a traditional law firm, that's much shorter period of time than that. And then the last one is, I guess, the price-quality trade-off. Super high quality, but at a very reasonable price. Now, we're not the cheapest in the market. There's always, someone else who turns up and is going to be cheaper, and we don't even try and compete on that. But in terms of that quality, price, customer experience kind of, mixture of things, we really do a great job, and that's ultimately why I guess we've now got, a good kind of 7,000 clients we've assisted over the years. And
Awesome. Lachlan, thank you so much. I've enjoyed getting to really understand it. It's been really good. Cool. I think the model's awesome, and I can see why you've had the success you have. And I think the important thing is the fact that you've managed to adapt to what's sort of come at you and ended up with a fantastic business. And I'm sure you will continue to adapt as well.
That's the plan. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.
Cheers.